Hey everyone, so I got my 2025 Ford F-350. So I want to go over all the specs on this truck, talk about the inside, the outside, all the different features and options that I got, as well as talk about my initial impressions of this truck. Now before I walk around it, I just want to go over the exact specs of my truck. So this is a 2025 Ford F-350. Antimatter blue exterior, Baja interior. And as far as the options for this truck, I have the 7.3 liter gas V8 engine. I didn't want to go diesel. This truck is more than enough for what I need, and I really don't want to deal with the complexity and the fuss of owning a diesel, since this is more than what I need. And this engine is super simple. Basic push rod, single cam in block, port injected only. So this is a very basic engine that's actually fairly easy to work on if need be. Now this truck has what I consider to be the three big options. I have the black appearance package, which is basically all the chrome pieces are changed out to black, and then the bumpers are painted body match. And you get a few other things, like get the rear wheel well liners as well as spray and bed liner. The Tremor off-road package, obviously an off-road package, wheels, tires, skid plates. It sits about 2 inches higher, locking, limited slip front differential, things like that. And then finally, the Lariat Ultimate package, which is kind of like a technology package. A lot of electronics in it, sensors, more camera angles. You also get a few hard items in it, like sliding rear windows, part of that, as well as the tailgate step. And then some of the smaller freestanding items, all-weather floor mats are basically just rubber mats instead of the carpeted mats. Fifth wheel hitch prep, roof clearance lights, front and rear splash guards, upfitter switches, dual batteries, dual alternators, and then the secure code keyless entry, which is actually a sticker now. It's not integrated into the truck itself. So I want to walk around and kind of show what all these features are and then give my initial impressions of this. I've had the truck for about 3 to 4 weeks now, so I put a few accessories on it and had a little bit of time to drive the truck. All right, from the front of the truck, some of the changes that they actually made for 25. This grille used to be part of Sport Appearance. It's now part of Black Appearance package, and it's painted black instead of being gray the way it used to be. You have this large Ford logo on the front. This is blacked out with the Black Appearance package. This large piece is because there is a camera in here. I threw a light on the front. These sensors are part of the Lariat Ultimate package for the front parking sensors on it. So that's part of Lariat Ultimate. Wheels and tires, these are the Duratrack Wranglers that come standard with the Tremor off-road package. Some people don't like them. They're okay. They got to break in a little bit because the truck tends to wander. But from what everybody says, you get 1,000 miles on the truck and that tends to go away. Also for 25, what they changed with Tremor, this wheel is now painted black. It used to be sort of a gunmetal gray color, but now it's black. Also, the valance on the bottom of the Tremors is much smaller. You get that really big one on the non-Tremors. Also part of Black Appearance, this is black instead of being chrome. This is the factory option mud flap camera underneath here. Part of 360-degree camera package, gives you a ton of different camera views, really nice. Also, this is part of Black Appearance. You get this painted black mirror cap. Because this is a Tremor, you have the option for the high clearance Tremor running board, basically the same as the board on the Raptors. With this being a Lariat Ultimate truck, I could have gotten either power deployed or these. I like these better. It's one fixed board. It's nothing to break versus the power deployed boards. They cycle so much. There's a possibility over time you may have a problem with those. And when they're deployed, when they're not deployed, like when the truck's sitting parked, they don't provide any body protection. So if someone swings their door open, this protrudes just enough where it's going to save the side of the truck from getting door dings from people carelessly opening the door next to you. Painted door handles, part of Lariat. This has the step. All the Super Duties have this step built in. It's not as noticeable in the dark color trucks, which I like. Normally with the older trucks, you would have the secure code here. They got rid of that on, Ford's getting rid of that on almost all their vehicles now. So what a lot of people are doing is they're finding some unique places to stick them. Some people stick it on the door, but what a lot of people are starting to do is they're hiding it inside the fuel filler door. So I put mine here. It's battery powered, so you can put it anywhere on the truck and it's going to work. So it stays in here, and with the gasket on this door, it's nice and protected. So even when I wash the truck or it's out in the rain, this doesn't get wet in here, so it stays protected. I don't use this much. This is basically a emergency backup if I need it, or if someone else needs to get into the truck when they don't have a key. You can easily use that. It works fine. It doesn't matter that it's a little bit further away. It's perfectly fine. Going to the back of the truck, this has got the rear wheel well liner, part of black appearance. This also has the fifth wheel prep. The way to see a fifth wheel prep truck without looking in the bed is this plate here with these two large bolts. That's how you can tell from the side of the truck if it has fifth wheel prep on it. And then there's 5 different holes on the inside that you can tell. And then there's the mud flap on the back. One thing I like about the Tremor package is it gives you the heaviest duty items that are kind of optional on different Super Duties, like between 250s and 350s. You automatically get the beefier, more heavy duty transmission. You get the heavier axles, the heavier suspension. So you get the best, the highest level duty of all the features. Sometimes with certain trucks, you can get the lighter duty transmission, lighter suspension, things like that. But the Tremor basically gives it all the heavier duty stuff. So tow hitch on the back should have a plug in it. I got some extra reverse lights. Here are the 2 different prongs for your trailer hookups. The Super Duties do not come standard now with the lock. That's now an accessory from Ford, so you basically got to get that if you want to put that in there to have some sort of lock to protect the spare tire. I threw a bed mat in the back just for those times where I might need to throw some real dirty stuff in here. Real simple. Got the lights in the back. This is the actual hookup for the fifth wheel prep. That's the electronic hookup. It comes with another wiring harness, so I don't really plan on using it, but I think it's something good to have because to add fifth wheel prep, I believe they upped the price just now to $650. It was $550. To put it in yourself, it's probably going to cost 2 to 3 times as much, and you got to pull the bed off the truck. So that's one thing I think it's good to have. You always want to kind of try to future-proof these trucks as well as some of the other options I did to future-proof it. So it's kind of a good thing to have. Blind spot monitors are in the tail lights. I put a black chrome Ford exhaust tip on. It cleans the exhaust tip up a little bit on this. And on the other side, you can see the muffler. You can see the axle down there, aluminum drive shaft. You get some more heavier duty skid plates with the Tremor. So nice truck. I think the truck looks really clean. A lot of people actually tell me they thought the truck was black the first time they saw it because in certain lights, it actually looks more black. I find that on a little bit more overcast days like this, the blue is a little bit more pronounced. Sometimes on the really bright sunny days, you actually don't notice it as much at certain angles. So basically a mirror image on the other side of the truck. So you can see the roof clearance lights. They're a $95 option, well worth it. I think they really give the truck a great personality. If you have a dually, they're standard, but they're optional on non-dualies. I really like them. Headlights are pretty good. I gotta say, pretty darn good. The fog lights, they don't do much. They're kind of a waste almost. But these are the reflector LEDs. Pretty darn good. This has auto high beams in it. That's really nice. So pretty standard, basic, well-equipped Super Duty from the outside. Now, what I really want to talk about is also some of the stuff on the inside. But one thing I do want to talk about, so I got the 7.3. I also opted for the dual batteries and the dual alternators. I think that's something good to have because to add those 2 items after the fact, after the truck's built, you're probably talking about $1,500 to $2,000, and it is not easy to put those in. So, like I said, you want to future-proof the truck as much as possible. Like it's like $325 to put them both in. Now I have all the power I could possibly need in this truck for depending on what I want to put in this thing in the future. But I like the simple, basic V8 in this truck. It's easy to work on. That definitely feels like it's more than enough to power this truck. Now on the inside, I went for something that most people do not get. I got the Baja interior. Now this, I think, is one of those things where people kind of gloss over this interior and just kind of auto default to black, which is okay. I think it's not bad. But what I like about this interior is having the tan seats and having the black roof really breaks everything up. I think this gives a really classy look because if you get the black interior, the seats are black, but a lot of the hard plastics like on the dashboard are dark blue and the ceiling is light gray. Versus this, the tan is on the seats and on the center console and some of the dash, but everything else is pretty much black. The headliner's black, so some of the stuff in the headliner really blends in well. The dashboard, a lot of it's black, so I like this. This is one of those interiors that you don't really think about till you see it in person. I was the exact same way. One of my dealers just happened to have a very similar truck to this spec in stock, and I saw his interior, and I'm like, you know what? This is a really, really nice breakup of the standard basic kind of black color. So like I said, I have the nicer B&O stereo system in this because I have Lariat Ultimate. A lot of controls on here, a lot of electronics in here that they did. A couple of things they took out. They made the steering console manual instead of being power now. I don't wish they did that, but it's not a huge deal. Payload on this truck, 4,132 pounds because it's an F350. 250 and 350 Tremors have the same exact suspension setup, but they derate the 250. So if you tow really heavy, that for legal reasons, depending on if you get DOT or state inspections, that's something to keep in mind. They knock about 1,000 pounds off of these trucks to tow. Even though they're exactly the same, they knock about 1,000 pounds off the truck if you get a 250 instead of a 350 Tremor. So all-weather floor mats, I think they're fine. Rubber, have nice Super Duty in there. All the controls on the side for a lot of the lighting and things like that. And the back is basically the same color scheme. Nice breakup of a mix of dark and tan. You have heated seats in the back, so we've already used those. They're really nice. They work well. The heated and cooled seats in this truck, I think, are going to be nice. They were good on my Raptor. Options on the inside, Lariat Ultimate. Like I said, a lot of electronics for the most part, that package. A few hardware pieces, but you get like Pro Trailer Backup Assist as part of that. You get front parking sensors, adaptive cruise, lane keep assist, a lot of stuff like that. Electronics related stuff. Initially, I didn't get that package, but I opted for it, and I like most of the electronics so far that I've used. The adaptive cruise actually works really, really well. Inside, not a ton of features. I opted for the upfitter switches up here. They used to be standard with Lariat Ultimate. They're a freestanding option now. But a lot of features in this truck, a lot of options. They moved a lot of the buttons from up here. They put them down here now. So not just a little something to get used to. Not terrible, but just a little bit of a change up. But the interior, I have to say, is nice. I think it's a nice break of having a very dark exterior with a lighter interior with some black. You have the speakers on the ceiling, but you don't even really see them because they blend in so well with the headliner. A couple popular options I did not opt for in this. I did not get the twin panel moonroof. I don't really use them. My good buddy's a Ford Senior Master Tech. He tells me what features and options or what good ones to get, which are good ones not to get. And he's like, those things tend to be problematic over a long period of time. The drains get clogged, the clips that hold them in break. So I didn't really opt for that because I probably never use it. Pro Power I kind of thought about, but I think Pro Power is good for an emergency, but to run that on a regular basis, I think it's just, I wouldn't want to idle such a big engine just to get the 2,000 watts of power. I think you're better off getting a generator, but I like it for emergencies, but it also unfortunately takes up a ton of your underseat storage space, and I have mine pretty well packed with stuff. I also got this console tray. This is something from Amazon, so just a little bit more space to store stuff on the top. And then let's get into my initial impressions of the truck. All right, so the initial impressions of the truck. I only have like 350 miles in this thing. I've been driving it a little bit, but now that the summer's coming, I'll be using a little bit more for taking trips and things like that. So first and foremost, the engine. 7.3 Godzilla V8. Awesome. Very, very good power. A lot of people with the Super Duties are diesel only, won't get a gas engine. I think a lot of people are kind of stuck in the past when the Super Duties were kind of underpowered with the older engines, like the 5.4 gas they had. They had the 2-valve and the 3-valve, then they had the 6.2. Those engines were kind of underpowered. This is very different. This has got a ton of low-end torque. It's a huge V8 engine. Like I said before, real simple, real basic, push rod, port injected. There's actually room under the hood of this thing. You don't have to take the cab off to work on this engine like the diesel. So I think a lot of people are still mentally stuck in that. But when you drive this thing, it doesn't feel slow and underpowered at all. You don't feel like you really need to give a lot of RPMs to get this thing moving. Cruising and accelerating at around 2,000 RPM, it feels fine. It picks up speed perfectly fine, appropriately. It doesn't feel laggy or slow or anything like that. So I'm glad I went with this engine. Real simple, real basic, real easy to do maintenance. It doesn't need a lot. And this engine's probably pretty simple and inexpensive to maintain, especially compared to the complexity that the diesels are now. So no problem with this engine. I'm not towing anything super heavy. If I was going really, really heavy, towing like big stuff, maybe consider a diesel. But my good buddy that's a Ford Senior Master Tech tows a 42-foot fifth wheel camper with his 7.3. He's got a 2022 7.3 with an 8-foot bed. He's like, there's some times when he's pulling big hills, like I wouldn't mind having a diesel, but I mean, he's a Ford Senior Master Tech, and he doesn't even want to deal with a diesel. So glad I went 7.3. No regrets with that. This engine is not underpowered at all. It propels the truck perfectly fine. Transmission, 10R140. Like I said, when you get the Tremors, you automatically get the heavier duty transmission. Ford is using the 10R100 a lot more. They're using it in a lot of 350s as well, so just keep an eye on that. That's the Torque Shift G transmission. You lose about 300 pounds of torque capacity with that transmission, so just keep that in mind when you're on the builder. I know there's been some problems with it earlier on. I don't know if they're still having problems with them now. So far, it's been fine. No issues with it. I noticed this transmission shifts a lot quicker than the 10R80 in my Raptor did. This thing gets through the gears really quick. So I don't know if that's a combination of the gears, because this is a 430 instead of a 410 like my Raptor was, but it just shifts very, very quickly. So the shifts are very quick and crisp. Transmission's been fine. No issue with that. Like I said, accelerates really good. Brakes, they're fine. They work perfectly fine. I think they're perfectly acceptable for a truck like this. Steering. Now, I have noticed with this, because this is the Tremor with these Duratrack tires, a lot of people don't like them. This thing wanders on the highway quite a bit. Now, that is very common from the forums I was reading on these tires. You got to get the first 1,000 miles on them and kind of flatten them out a little bit, and that goes away. So I'm noticing it's starting to get a little bit less and less, but driving at highway speed, it starts to kind of wander in the lane a little bit. So you got to kind of keep on top of it. But everybody says by 1,000 miles, that's gone, and I'm starting to notice it getting less and less. Steering. This is hydraulic steering, not EPS, the electronic steering. Real strong. It takes very little effort to turn this wheel, even with these 35-inch pretty aggressive off-road tires on this truck. However, this is probably also a combination of having to wear the tires in a little bit. When you turn the wheel, the truck beyond like 90 degrees, you have to turn the wheel back manually. It does not want to self-correct as easily. Going around turns like in the road, it'll self-correct, usually pretty good. But you're going like a hard 90 coming off of like an intersection, or coming off of making a hard right or a hard left turn, you have to work the wheel back. You can't just let it go, because it ain't going to correct in time. You're going to go off the road. So I have noticed that, but I'm guessing that that's going to go. So it steers really good. There's a column shift instead of the center. That's fine. It doesn't bother me at all. It's nice. There's a ton of room right in the center here. I can put all kinds of stuff in here. If I got to go get it, whatever, I can stick stuff in here. I didn't have as much room in the Raptor, but that's actually pretty nice. 430 gear, so it gets up to speed pretty quick in this thing. One thing I have to say, now this is my first Super Duty. I've always wanted a Super Duty, and I've been on the forums seeing what a lot of longtime Super Duty owners have said, and I guess Ford is really starting to get this suspension dialed in, because this truck rides surprisingly well for a 1-ton truck. Even some of the guys that had the last generation Super Duty say there's a noticeable difference in the ride quality. It is a firm ride, no doubt about it. I want to be very clear. This is going to be a much firmer ride than you're going to get from like an F-150. But it is not really that bad. It's not really that jarring. If you go over something really bumpy, like a set of train tracks, you're going to notice it. But it's not bad. Now, what I think they do to combat it is these seats are really comfortable. There's a ton of padding in these seats. They are super comfortable. I'm surprised at how nice these seats are. My father has an F-150, and he likes these seats way better than his are. He likes my seats way more than his. He hates the seats in his F-150, and he's got an F-150 Lariat, and they're just firm. He's got a pad on his seat because he hates those seats. But these things, well padded. They're plush, but not like Cadillac couch plush. They're plush enough where they help really absorb a lot of the rough bumps you might hit. But they're very, very comfortable. And then this, because it's a Lariat Ultimate, it has the more adjustable headrest, so that's really nice. I really, really like the seats. I'm not a leather person, but these are really, really nice. Now, another thing with this, because it's a 25, is this has the Active X seats. So a lot of people are panicking about Active X. Oh my God, it's not real leather. Now, the leather seats they had in before kind of really weren't real leather. They're kind of a mix of fake and real leather. It was fake leather in some of the higher wear areas. If I didn't tell you these weren't real leather seats, that they were synthetic leather, you would never, ever know. You can't tell the difference. It feels like a leather seat. It has the characteristics of a leather seat, but these are supposed to be more resistant to stains and rips and damage. So honestly, I don't care. If they're going to be more durable and they're going to hold up better than a leather seat, fine. Because most vehicles don't have real leather seats anyway, because leather actually takes a ton of upkeep. You got to keep on top of it since it's a natural element. You got to condition them and clean them, and they're going to get stains in them possibly. So ActiveX, don't be afraid of ActiveX. I see nothing wrong with this. Of all the changes they made, this is the least I'm concerned about of all the tweaks that they made for the Super Duty. So Overall, I am real happy with this truck. The overall driving quality is pretty darn good for a truck with over a 4,000-pound payload capacity. I mean, I can load this up with bags of dirt in the back till they're falling off the back, and I'm going to be about halfway through my payload capacity. So I really like the fact that now I'm not limited. I can pretty much tow anything I need to. I put my 800-pound ATV in the back one time just to test it out, and I think the suspension dropped about an inch. It almost nothing. You barely saw any difference in the suspension. So when I had versus when I had my ATV, when I picked up and put it back in my Raptor, that thing was almost on the bump stops. This thing just laughs all day long. I mean, theoretically, I could put my Toyota Corolla in the back of this thing and have 4 people sitting in it, and I still wouldn't be over the payload capacity of this truck. So this truck is awesome. So much payload capacity. Towing is 17,700 pounds. I have a 7,000-pound trailer. The max GVRW for the trailer is 7,000, so I could pack that trailer, pack this thing with people, put a quad in the back of the bed, and I'm still going to be well within the limits and capabilities of this truck. So, so far, so good. I'm liking it. I'm still kind of dialing in the settings and kind of getting used to everything. I just kind of had to go through all the settings. The Lariat Ultimate package, a lot of electronic settings. I had to figure out what I wanted to turn on and off and things like that. The heads-up display I turned off. I find that to be a distraction. The lane keep assist I found to be a little bit of a distraction too. Sometimes the highway I'll turn it back on. Adaptive cruise is really nice though, and adaptive cruise will work with the trailer. Front parking sensors are nice. So if you get a little too close to something, they jump in, they beep at you, and the camera comes on to give you a warning. It'll show you on the screen in red what you're getting close to if something kind of is out of your eye. But it has basically a lot of the premium features that my Raptor had in it, and I like this truck a lot. I've had 5 people in here comfortably. I got tons of room under the seat to store stuff. It's a great truck. One of the things I didn't like that Ford's doing now, apparently they've been doing for a couple of years, you don't get an owner's manual, so I actually had to buy from a company that actually prints the owner's manual. You can either download the PDF from the Ford website if you want to, or they also have it in the screen from the computer, but I don't want it to have the ignition on just to go through and sit here to go through the owner's manual, go through all the features, and it doesn't even take you, like, it doesn't have like links on it to take you exactly. You have to manually scroll through or search for it. So I bought an owner's manual for like $50. Now I can actually sit and read it, because I actually do usually read through or at least skim the owner's manual, and I like to have it just as a reference to be able to read. But pretty good. Everything works pretty good in here. The wireless charger for the cell phone is a little finicky. Sometimes you got to really have in the right spot. That's another common complaint I see, but everything else is pretty darn good. The fit and finish is pretty good on this thing. All the panel gaps look pretty good. Everything fits real nice in here. And overall, I'm really glad I bought this thing. I enjoyed owning my Raptor. If I had a really big garage and I was able to keep it and it had a lot more room, I might have thought about keeping it, but that paid for the bulk of this truck. So I know the new owner was very happy with the truck. He was very happy with how clean that thing was and how nice I kept it. But I'm just going to have some fun with this thing, some basic accessories that I did to it, do a little bit more towing and hauling with this truck. But overall, a really nice truck that rides surprisingly well and really has incredible capabilities. This thing can pretty much do whatever I will need this thing to do as a pickup truck. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.